What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you yet another Betafield 4 tips and tricks video. Got quite a few for you in this episode, so let's get straight into it. When being locked on inside of an aerial vehicle, you'll see this gray directional icon. It'll be located towards the center of your screen, towards where the the crosshair would be. And this is going to tell you the direction, the rough direction of your lock-on. Again, it's kind of a gray-white, and it'll be you'll know when you're looking for it. Just when you hear that beeping sound, and this applies to gunners as well. So when you're hearing that lock-on sound, look in the direction that this little thing is pointing, and that'll tell you where the guy is going to be locking from. No longer will you have to solely look for the smoke trails after after they fire upon you. You can actually be a little proactive in finding the guy that's trying to lock onto you. Next little tip is that weapons that require a maintain of your lock-on. So I'm not talking about the where the recon guys tag stuff and you lock on and fire, because at that point you can forget it. I'm talking about the weapons that require you to maintain your lock-on. And currently in the beta there's only one that's like this. It's one of the battle drops, one of the weapons that drops on the map, and it's in the Siege of Shanghai obviously, but it's for the conquest mode. And when the tower is still up, it'll be one of the weapons that drops up top of there. Once the tower falls, you no longer have access to this weapon. But this rocket, you can reacquire your lock-ons even after people pop flares. Alright? Wait for them to, you'll get the lock. They might pop flares early, but otherwise just go ahead and shoot and just keep it aimed at the chopper. And once they pop the flares, you'll see your little lock-on square bouncing around. Alright? Wait for the flares to kind of disperse and get away from the helicopter. Your rockets are going to, their missiles are going to follow those flares, but then once the flares get away enough from the helicopter, realign it, relock it, and the missiles are going to, change their trajectory. They're going to turn around and follow right back to the helicopter. So you can, even if they flare, you can maintain that lock afterwards. You can also, if if you see two vehicles and one pops flares, you can change your target and now aim at a whole new vehicle, and it'll actually become the new target, and these missiles will follow that target. So, it's a really, really interesting mechanic. I'm probably going to seriously enjoy it, since flares are always depressing when you're trying to take down that air. Moving on, in terms of flying, one of the things that you're going to want to do if you're on PC is bind your pitch up. All right, go to your settings, key bindings, find the helicopter and jet stuff, and then bind the one that says pitch up to a keyboard key that is going to be close to your, whatever hand you have on your keyboard. This way, when you hit that key, it'll be instantly the maximum amount of pitch up, so that you don't have to drag your mouse. Now, if you're using a gamepad on the computer or a joystick or anything like that, then that's perfectly fine. But if you fly using mouse and keyboard like myself, to speed up that process when you do those dives and you really got to pull up real quick, use that key that's bound to pitch up, because it will always be the maximum amount of pitch. You're not going to be limited to how much mouse pad you can scroll the mouse on. Alright, and then moving on to the next one, releasing the barriers on the bridge when the car's passing over them. These are little things where you can, toggle the little, whatever that thing is, the little device, and basically it sends these little columns up. Once you trigger those, if you can trigger them just right to where they pop right underneath a car that's driving over them, one of those new Jeeps that we get, whatever their technical term is, that is going to deal about 10% damage. So it's not going to disable them, it's not going to pop the axles off or anything like that, but it will do a slight amount of damage. So if you see one smoking and they're, they got shot, they're smoking, they're trying to escape and they're still going, if you time it right, you just might be able to kill them and take them out by using those barriers. It will do roughly 10% damage depending on when you're able to trigger it and how fast they're going. This I don't believe works on any of the tanks or APCs, just those big trucks. And then moving on, defibrillators you can still kill enemies with the defibrillators. The only thing is, you've got to charge them just a little bit. We tested this quite a bit and tried to zap an enemy without a actual charge, and we never were able to get a kill. And so we tried charging it for just the slightest amount of time, and that did result in a fatal attack. So there's no differences in the amount of charges. Just charge it a little bit and zap them, and you'll get that kill. So pretty darn interesting there that it doesn't zap them until you give it just the slightest amount of charge. Now moving on, med packs, ammo packs, as well as the box forms of those. Obviously, we only have the ammo box here in the beta. They will explode when destroyed, and it takes 2 bullets from most weapons to destroy these. Now, when they explode, they do not cause any damage, nor do they cause any suppression on the enemy around them. However, it can intimidate them, it can scare them, thinking there's an explosion going off, things like that, kind of like a battle cry and things like that. Makes it seem like the force they're going up against is a little worse. So if you're an assault player and you do that, maybe it'll make them think that there's an engineer nearby or something. It'll just cause, some confusion, and it does, it's got a lot of effects that go on when the thing explodes. It's a really big explosion I don't know why these things explode like they do, but as they are right now, they will explode violently. So you can use that tactic in certain cases. If you see someone toss it down in a corner, do that. It'll, put them in a havoc and chaos and things like that, and then pop around the corner, and they might be caught off a little off guard. And then moving on to the RPGs, when they are locked on to air. All right. When aircrafts are locked on, they get that warning tone, but when something that's locked on is shot, they get a new tone that an actual missile has been fired. This doesn't work right now for the RPGs that are locked on from the recon that uses the PLD. This is probably most likely a bug, so I don't really want to tout it too much as a tip right now, because it'll probably be fixed by the time the beta actually becomes a full game. Moving on, the gate or grill, that would be GRILLE, that can be triggered around the store towards the center part of the map, around where the C capture point is for domination. That area, when those grills go down, when those gates go down, you cannot shoot small arms through them, but any type of explosive will blow up those gate walls. Those little sections. All right, so you can use C4, noob tubes, RPGs. You can even use the air burst, and it doesn't even have to be the actual burst mode. You can just shoot it with a dumb-fired air burst, and that will take those out. So if you need to jump through, if there's someone on the other side that you can't shoot and get to, use that air burst, switch to your primary, and they think they'll probably be safe from that direction, and then they will find out shortly that they are not. And then moving on to the revives. Now, I was going to cover a tip with the whole revives being a lot, the revive window at which you can revive people and be revived yourself is shorter. But they did tweet, and I will have a link to the this tweet, whatever you want to call it, from Demise99, in which he did confirm that the revives are going to be a bit longer in the full release. They are shorter than expected, shorter than planned currently in the beta, so that will be fixed. And now moving on, the Battlefield 3 Jeeps, you could shoot and blow off the doors from those Jeeps, and other certain vehicles you could blow those doors off. In Battlefield 4, that is returning. You can use grenades if you throw it just in front of the door. If you throw it underneath the vehicle, it might not take out the door, but if you throw the grenade right in front of the door, you can take that off and then shoot whoever is on the inside, including the driver and passengers that are in the back. You could use an air burst, you can use noob tube, any of these types of explosions, hit the door directly and it'll take it off. And now for the next tip, just because this is just kind of a personal thing, just because you unlock an attachment doesn't mean you have to use it. Alright, I see a lot of people running around with certain weapons using the muzzle brake. And I don't know if they just haven't read the description enough, or they just don't fully comprehend what it does. What the muzzle brake does is it reduces just your recoil, but it adds to your bullet bloom. Alright, this is not going to help you in terms of long range things. And certain weapons like the ACWR, yeah, you could use the muzzle brake on that. But for things like the AK-12 and the AK-5C that have almost no recoil at all, don't be using the muzzle brake because unless you really feel like you need it, unless you feel like the recoil is just too much to handle, then yeah, okay, use the muzzle brake. Otherwise, all you're doing is hurting your mid to long range accuracy because it's increasing your bullet spread. Alright, moving on. If you are a recon, alright, and you're using one of the weapons that has a scope that can be zeroed, one of the ways that you can help with your zeroing, rather than just guessing aimlessly and figuring out, okay, that seems like 300 meters, what you can use is the PLD. It's not just for tagging vehicles for RPG guys to lock on, but it does have, when you're using the PLD, use it, and in the center of the screen it's going to tell you it's got a rangefinder. It'll tell you the pretty much exact range of whatever you're looking at. So look at your enemy. You'll see, oh, he's 250 meters away. So then switch back to your sniper rifle, set it for 200, and aim just a little bit so that you have to counter for that 50 meters, or set it for 300 and aim, a little different to again counter for the loss of 50 meters. So use that PLD to help get your range when sniping and trying to zero your scope. And then for the final tip that I have in this episode, the ammo and health bags are attracted to players. These are the bags, not the boxes, but the bags. When you just throw them aimlessly, you'll toss them up in the air and they land about 3-4 feet in front of you. But when you look at a player and you go to throw out the ammo or health, it will launch really, really far. Some of these things can go really, really far. And, a lot of times they'll kind of glitch out and it'll get kind of stuck in the air, but they'll still get it, and visually it'll be stuck in the air. So yeah, use that. If, you're both under, suppressive fire, you don't want to jump out into the alleyway that's, all the fire's going down, you can just kind of get somewhat close to them, hit it, and then turn around, and it'll toss it out, and it'll just get kind of magnetized and attracted to them. They'll pick it up, they get their one-time use out of it, and you're good to go. So that's all the tips that I've got for you guys right now. If you guys have any other tips, tricks, map strategies, weapon strategies, anything like that, please leave them in the comments section below, or PM them me, personal message them to me in YouTube or something like that, and I'd love to get some more tips and tricks. These are just some of the things that I've personally noticed over time, so it's only a beta. It's kind of hard to find a lot of tips and tricks for one map with very few weapons unlocked and things like that, very few attachments and equipment. So please give me all the help that I can get in finding some good tips and tricks to spread out there to the community. Hope you guys have enjoyed the gameplay there going on in the background, and I hope you have maybe learned one or two, hopefully more tips or tricks from this episode. Have a good one.